all my listeners are parents. Majority of them are dads. What could you tell my listeners here? What is the future of this planet for our children if nothing is done to save the soil?
Yeah, coming to fatherhood, my girl knows me very well, and she knows who I am very well. But for the first time, she told me, "Be careful." So I've been talking about this for 30 years. Everybody tells me, "Sadhguru, what you're doing is fantastic, it's great, we really love it," and they will sleep on it. So I thought it's time I do something that I'm putting myself to great risk. I put myself into this because it looks like we are capable of sleeping through any kind of situation and ending up in a disaster. I think as a generation of people, we must mitigate this disaster before it happens. We must be that generation which turned back from the brink, not the one that went over and then cries over the bad things that happened to us. Because this is a global phenomena across the world. The organic content in the soil has gone down so severely that today we are at a point where every year, according to UNFAO, 27,000 species of organisms are going extinct. At this rate, in another 25 to 30 years, we will have a severe food crisis, there's no question about that. And our populations would have grown to 9 billion. You don't want to see such things happening to the next generation. So I thought, let me do something that'll wake up people.
What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Lace. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. I've got a very special guest for what is my 600th episode of the podcast. The legendary mystic and yogi Sadhguru joins me, and as you can see from the opening clip, it is unlike any other interview I've ever done in my life. Sadhguru is currently driving his motorcycle through 26 nations for 100 days to raise awareness for his Save the Soil campaign. You can find out more about the Save the Soil down below. There's a link that will take you right to it to find out all the information on the important work that he's doing. Don't forget, my new book, First Class Fatherhood, Advice and Wisdom from High-Profile Dads, is now available. The link to the book is down there in the description as well. And I did mention this is my 600th episode. Not the entire catalog is available here on YouTube, but if you'd like to see all of the episodes, there is a link in the description for you to do that as well. All right, I can't say thank you guys enough for all the support you've given me. Let's jump into it right now. Go down there, hit the like, tap the subscribe, and let's jump into it right now with Sadhguru on a motorcycle as he rides from Bucharest to Istanbul right here on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father Sadhguru. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
What is that first class fatherhood, huh?
That's right, First Class Fatherhood. Let me start it just like this. How many kids do you have and how old are they?
Oh, I have a few million of mine, but only one is my mistake.
And how old is she?
She's just turned 32. She's married for now 6-7 years now. She's a classical dancer, and she's she's a wonderful woman.
Very cool. We're going to jump right into the Save Soil movement in just a second here. But if you could, Sadhguru, take me back to the beginning of your fatherhood journey then. About how old were you when you first became a dad, and how did that experience change your perspective on life?
I never treated her as my daughter. I just treated her as a dear friend. And she also grew up like that, always on first name basis with me. Not once did she call me daddy or anything like that. She always called me by my first name, and we've been wonderful friends from the day one.
Wow, that's an interesting perspective there. Well, you got the Save Soil movement going on. You're on the motorcycle now, 30,000 kilometers across 25 nations in 100 days. I believe you're on day 31 right now. All my listeners are parents. Majority of them are dads. What could you tell my listeners here? What is the future of this planet for our children if nothing is done to save the soil?
Yeah, coming to fatherhood, my girl knows me very well, and she knows who I am very well. But for the first time, she told me, "Be careful, because I'm riding in snow and rain and all kinds of situations right now. Wind is blowing around 30 knots per hour, and it's raining, and Bulgarian roads seem to have much more oil on them than others, because probably the cars and automobiles are much older ones. And two wheels, wet roads and oil, they're not friends, you know, about saving the soil." So I've been talking about this for 30 years. Everybody tells me, "Sadhguru, what you're doing is fantastic, it's great, we really love it," and they will sleep on it. So I thought it's time I do something, that I'm putting myself to great risk looking at this. I don't know if you can feel the weather. It's like blowing crazy. All the trucks have slowed down. So you can't see the trucks. I think you can hear them. We're just passing them, because the wind is very heavy and the warnings are coming out for them to slow down, because the wind is picking up speed. So I put myself into this because it looks like we are capable of sleeping through any kind of situation and ending up in a disaster. I think as a generation of people, we must mitigate this disaster before it happens. We must be that generation which turned back from the brink, not the one that went over and then cries over the bad things that happened to us. Because this is a global phenomena across the world. The organic content in the soil has gone down so severely that today we are at a point where every year, according to UNFAO, 27,000 species of organisms are going extinct. At this rate, in another 25 to 30 years, we will have a severe food crisis, there's no question about that. And our populations would have grown to 9 billion. You don't want to see such things happening to the next generation. So I thought, let me do something that will wake up people. Fortunately, across Europe, nearly 11th, 12th country we are going into today, every one of these nations have been a spectacular response, both from the people and generally the administration's also responding very well. I'm going to Bucharest in Romania right now, and there is an event with over probably 3,000 people. And apart from that, the agriculture minister, environment minister, the education minister, all of them are lining up to meet us and sign MOUs with us. This is a very positive response. And the German government announced $4.5 billion towards soil ecology just last week. So the moment has been very positive, and above all, I'm speaking at COP15, where 197 nations are participating. So all the representatives will be there. I'm addressing them, and we are making soil the main theme of this COP15 in Ivory Coast. So before that, we want to move substantial number of people, at least 3 to 3.5 billion people, so that no government can say no to it, because once people want it, how can a democratically elected government say no to it? This is what is going on right now. Immense response from around the world.
Well, it's incredibly inspiring what you're doing here, but the fruits of your labor, I mean, the long-term effects of this, we may not see it till long after we're gone here. It may take another generation. What keeps you motivated to keep doing this, knowing that these results, the long-term results, can come way down the line there and will greatly impact, our kids, our grandkids?
This is the whole thing. This is the fundamental thing about being human, that we have memory, a vivid sense of memory and a fantastic sense of imagination, which sets us apart from every other creature on the planet. All the other creatures tackle their problems when they come. They try to handle their problems when they arise. It is the prerogative of the human being that we can mitigate a problem before it manifests. If we don't do that, in many ways we are forsaking our human nature and in a way our humanity also, because Right now, every responsible scientist in the world is saying that by 2045, we'll be producing 40% less food and our populations will be over 9 billion. That's not a place where you want to put the next generation in. So, we have to do this, and UNFAO says that right now the food that we are eating, the soil that we are consuming, belongs not even to the children, but belongs to the unborn child. Eating up the food that belongs to the unborn child, the most defenseless life, eating up that food pains me in my heart. I think we should not be that kind of human beings that we ate up the food that belongs to the unborn child. Unfortunately, what, these
Yeah,
guys suddenly take a turn without telling me. I'm sorry.
that's all right. Be careful there, will you?
Yeah. You know, the roads are very wet and suddenly these guys, the lead car takes a turn to the right and I'm slipping all over the place. I'm okay. Tell me, Alex.
All right. Well. Listen, Sadhguru. Just as humanity can't succeed here without healthy soil, our society can't succeed without healthy families as well. And one thing I focus on is the fatherless crisis we got in the United States. We lead the world in all homes that have no dads. We have more homes without a father present than any other country on the planet. And so I really believe that in our country, in the United States, we could solve a lot of our societal problems if we can get more dads back in their homes of their kids' lives. What's your take on that?
Essentially, you're talking about more responsible men. Definitely, absolutely, no question about that. Because, I'm saying as far back as 6,500 years ago, when people ask, hey, Krishna talks about this and he's saying that how it is very important for men and women to maintain their moral value, and he stresses particularly for women. So women ask, why only for us? Why are you saying more for us, less for men? So Krishna says the important thing is, see, if the man philanders around, he will cause some damage. But if the woman, is not with the man that has fathered her child, then the problem is there will be nobody to nurture that child. There will be nobody to bring strength to a child. A mother gives a certain kind of strength, but father transfers his skills and capabilities. Well, a mother can also do it in today's world, but in those days it was very, very true. Now also it is true that having both the parents of mother and father is a very good thing, but a whole lot of people are arguing that this is all very, what do you say, archaic, and we can do it ourselves. Yes, you can. Many mothers have brought up their children wonderfully well. I brought up my girl by myself because my wife passed away very early on, and I've done what I've done, and the girl has grown up wonderfully well. I'm sure single parents also can do well many times, but two responsible people who love the child would make a lot of difference. Nobody can take away the benefit of that. But if the man is very responsible, maybe the woman would rather not have him around than having him around and messing with the child. When I say messing with the child, when every home, it's become so common, anybody can smoke, drink, drug. When these things become so common, sometimes it's better not to have such adults around children rather than having them, because they are more of a bad influence than a good influence. Unfortunately, that has infested the society in such a huge way, and every form of intoxication has become legal. So just because something becomes legal, that doesn't mean it's right. Uh, so we need to think about it, how we want to create our societies. What is the long-term well-being? Above all, a human child comes unformed. You don't come like other creatures where the moment you drop out of the mother's womb, you're ready to, within a few days, you're ready to make your own life. A human child comes largely unformed, So, not even 10% of their life is fixed by birth, rest of it they have to create. So what kind of nurture they get is extremely important. I wouldn't like to make this into father-mother business, but the nurture that can come from parentage is extremely important. There's no two ways about it. And unfortunately, as you said, in United States, and it's beginning to happen in many other places now, that family structure is so fragile. For smallest disagreements, the family is broken. That's what I keep reminding people. Don't have children if you're not committed. What is the point? If you want to have children, you must understand a child is a 20-year project. If you're ready for the 20-year project, go ahead and have it. And you must know if they do well, it's a 20-year project. In case they don't do well, it's a lifelong project. Only if you're ready for the project, you take it up. If you're not ready, why? You're not a tiger or something that I must goad you, please reproduce, because you're not an endangered species. There are too many of us. It's not necessary for everybody to reproduce and leave the children untended for. If you produce a child, both man and woman, the child happens between these two genders generally. So whoever takes on the project of rearing a child or bringing up a child must understand it is a minimum of 20 years commitment. If you have other things to do in your life which you think is more important than caring for your child, you please leave the children alone. Human species is not an endangered species. Nobody is asking you to reproduce compulsively. So, only those who are willing to be responsible bring the children up as wonderful young adults and then leave them in the world to do whatever they want to do. But if you leave them too early, they won't grow up into mature adults. All kinds of sufferings, the amount of psychological ailments and anxieties, problems, insecurities. They take it out on themselves and take it out on everybody, and the loneliness that people suffer, even if they are among millions of people, is very unfortunate. For all this family structure or a stable, parentage which which is committed to seeing the child through, not in a conditional way, in an unconditional way. The child that you produce is your business till they become adults. One must understand this, otherwise we will produce a society and a world which is full of fractured human beings.
Yeah, very well said, Sadhguru. We are definitely seeing it here in the United States. We got an epidemic of kids growing up without a father or a solid family structure, and the proof is in all the statistics. Just like you said, there are many single moms that are working miracles, many single dads doing the same, but all the statistics where we see crime, high teenage pregnancy, teenage suicide, all correlate without having a father in the home. So I harp on it here because I really think it's our number one social issue in our country right now that we face. So that's why I make a point to harp on. One point of that father being in the home is the discipline portion of it. So what kind of a disciplinarian were you with your daughter growing up, Sadhguru? And is that different than the discipline style you grew up with?
I never tried to discipline her. I always made her responsible. I handed over things to her. I'm talking about even when she's 3, 4, 5 years of age, let's say. I make her responsible for really big things which are way beyond her. And I always saw in her own wacky way, she was trying to do the right thing. So one thing that parents should understand is, instead of trying to discipline, which may not work in today's world, it's best that you make them responsible. You make them responsible for the household. Even if you are in the background, just leave things in their hands even when they're very young. Tell them, okay, they have to work the economics of the house, they have to see how to maintain the house, what to do, whatever else, ask them to figure out what is the best insurance to take. I'm telling you, they'll do a great job. So that's why I said I was never I must tell you this incident, probably this will make it more clear for you. This happened, she traveled with me since she was very young. Very young means a few months old, she started traveling. I was always staying in so many homes all across the country in India and also sometimes outside. And people were wonderful, but adults have this problem when they see a child, they want to teach something. to the child. So I saw, see the problem with adults, see, they're always trying to teach something that's not worked in their life. When I say it's not worked in their life, between the child and the adult, most of the time, 99% of the time, child is a more joyful and wonderful human being. So what is there for the child to learn from the adult? See, adults have become dead serious and angry and anxious and all this. So I told them one thing, see, you can play with her, you can be with her, no problem. Nobody will teach her anything. No 1, 2, 3, no ABC, no nothing. Nobody will teach her anything. Then they said, what about, oh, she won't be able to count, she won't know how many fingers she has. There's a comment somebody made. I said, see, I don't care whether she can count her fingers or not. She can use her fingers, that's all that matters to me. She knows how to use her fingers, that's fine. She knows how to use her limbs and faculties, that is fine with me. She need not count. Whether I say I have 10 fingers, I say 1,000,000 fingers, what difference is just a number? You can give different values to different things. Right now, like it's a currency, what is $1? Maybe somewhere else 1,000 lira, all right? So, these things don't matter. And then they said, "We shall we teach some rhymes?" I said, "Don't teach her any rhymes. What about Mary had a little lamb?" Say, I don't care whether Mary had a lamb or not, just leave her alone. You play with her, you be with her, treat her as your friend, I have no issues, but don't try to teach her anything. So because nobody teaches her anything, she became super alert. She wants to learn everything around her because nobody teaches her anything. By the time she's 18 months old, she could fluently speak 3 languages, okay, because she's always traveling with me. All kinds of homes, from the richest homes in the country to poor tribal huts, just about anywhere we would stay, depending on where I'm working at that time. So she was comfortable with all sorts of people. And by the time she's 4.5 years old, one day I check and she calls them all her friends. But these are all adults, okay, 30, 40, 50-year-old people. But she thinks they're all her friends because nobody see the way a child feels it is less than others is because always somebody is trying to teach the child something, always talking down and saying, this is not it, that is not it. When nobody is teaching you anything, she thinks all are her friends. And I couldn't believe it. She knew the names of nearly 800 people.
Wow.
She, she knew the names of them, some of them she knows the phone numbers. She just calls them up and talks to them like they are buddies. And these people are all older people. So she grew up like this. I thought I won't send her to school at all. She can travel with me and just be with me. But my travels got too really crazy. I couldn't, give the needed attention to her. So I put her in a school where there was very little schooling, very you know, lower level of schooling, not like that. So she was in school and she was around about something. Then she said, "You're teaching everybody so many things, you're not telling me anything." I said, "See, I don't teach anything unsolicited. Now that you come, you sit down, let's see." Then she sat down in front of me and I said, "See, the important thing is never look up to anybody." She just looked at me with that expression, "What about you?" kind of look. I said, "Especially me, the value of who I am is only when you see me as I am. If you look up to me, probably you'll nail my picture on the wall and forget about me, as you've done to many other great beings in the world." I said, "Don't look up to me or anybody, and above all, don't look down on anybody. And this is all. Never look up to anything, never look down on anything. Just see life as it is. You will effortlessly navigate through life." So this is the only thing I would say. Don't make children think they are… the only thing that you have with reference to your children in the context is, you came here a few years early, that's all. It is like the bullies in the school who joined the school 2 years ahead of you and they think they have to rag you and harass you. Most parents are doing this in the name of teaching something, disciplining something. What do you know that the child doesn't know about life? You know some tricks of survival. Beyond that, you don't know anything about life, all right? You are just believing things which are not true, which have not worked in your life. Between you and your child, if you compare and see, definitely your child is more joyful. So definitely he or she should be the consultant for life, not you.
Yeah, very great stuff, Sadhguru. And then, listen, getting it real quick with the Save Soil. How can fathers, how can parents here in the United States join with their kids the Save Soil movement? How can they get involved? How can they help?
Say, fathers and mothers of United States, I want you to understand, however comfortably you're living right now. See, this food shortages this year itself is multiplying because of the war that's happening in between Ukraine and Russia. These two countries together were providing nearly 25% of the world's wheat. That being missing, in Europe, the price of the food is going up, but that is not the real problem. The real problem is already many nations, poorer nations, are running a short of food. There is not enough. World Food Program is expecting famines in more than half a dozen countries, particularly in Africa and South America. So this is not just… when we say famine, we always think Africa. When I was talking to David Beasley, who's an American, who was an American congressman, if I get it right, but now he's heading World Food Program. He was saying, Sadhguru, by 2035, there will be famine conditions or serious drought conditions in Illinois. Because the way we are farming there, Chicago and surrounding areas can go into famine conditions. Well, we have transportation systems, we may transport food from here to there and all that stuff, but I'm telling you, this is going to do things that you can't imagine. Because of this soil condition, water stress is enhancing itself. By 2032, they are saying 3.5 billion people will be water stressed. Right now, about 2 billion people are water stressed. And today there is mobility, so they're expecting about 1.2 billion people to move in terms of migration. A billion people, when they move, you're not going to stop them with a wall or with your police or with your army. It's not going to work. And above all, we have to forsake our humanity just to protect our whatever is our interest, which will become terrible. So it's extremely important right now, putting soil into a state where it is alive. It can store enormous amount of water, because if you enhance the organic content of the soil to 8 to 10%, the irrigation requirements in the world will come down to 30% of what it is right now. So that's the kind of difference it can make. What can you do as a parent? One most important thing is, do not make your children angry with these things. This is not agitation, this is not a protest, this is not against somebody or anybody. All of us together, knowingly or unknowingly, are partners in this destruction. The only way to solve this is all of us become partners in the solution. That's the only way forward. So make your children also partners in this. Children are always sensitive to this. In India, our Isha homeschool children took this responsibility, and they are activating 10 million children to write to the Indian Prime Minister. 10 million children. Right now, we've not reached the 10 million number, maybe we have reached around 600,000 or something like that. But Prime Minister's office is inundated with children's artwork and letters and messages and all kinds of things. They're saying, please ask them to do digital, please don't send physical letters, we're just not able to handle this. I'm saying, when 10 million children write, you think any leader can ignore it? So I would say, all the fathers in America, please take this upon yourself, not just your children. Make sure at least 2 million children write to the President of the United States. We are concerned about the soil. We are concerned about the future of the United States. We are concerned about our children and their children. And above all, we're concerned about every other life on the planet. Please, soil must become a priority. And also write to the opposition parties. We have written to 730 political parties in the world, saying that soil and soil ecology must become a part of their political agenda. Doesn't matter whether you're right, left, center, what kind of political philosophy you believe in. We all come from the soil. we live off the soil. At least when we die, we definitely get back to the soil. So it's important that parents understand just saying I love you is not enough. If you love somebody, you must facilitate situations so that they can live well. And one most important thing that is needed for children of today to live well tomorrow is a rich soil. Without rich soil, there is no rich food. Without rich food, there is no health of the soil, and health of the human being are very directly connected. Both chronic ailments and psychological ailments are largely rooted in micronutrients not being present. Right now in the United States, much research shows this, that if you ate one orange in 1920, how much nourishment you got from that? Today, to get the same nourishment, you have to eat 8 oranges. When have you ever eaten 8 oranges in the morning, Alex? Is such a thing possible? So this is where we are going, this is what we have done to our food. If we really care for our children, this must happen. Please, all the fathers, I beseech you, apart from you writing to the local representatives, and above all, enhancing the message on the social media, let the children also do it. Apart from that, get at least 2 million American children to write to your president that you're concerned about soil and they must invest in the future well-being of America's soil.
Well, God bless you for what you're doing. I know we're up against the time here. I'm going to put the link in the description of this podcast episode for Save Soil. It's been really an honor to speak with you today. You're a first-class father all the way. Sadhguru, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you. And SaveSoil.org, just look it up. And be with me on this journey, all the American fathers. I am also a father like you. My daughter is very worried about me right now because I'm riding through crazy kind of weather, and I'm 65 years of age, 30,000 kilometers could kill me. She's very worried about this, but I'm asking all of you to stay with me, enhance this message, ensure our children can live well on this planet tomorrow, not just today. Thank you very much.
Well said. Well said. Be careful on the bike there. We'll catch up to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.